Now, here's Dominic Carter on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
A number of things that are on my mind. And this morning, what I have to say when I get to the bishop that was allegedly robbed in Brooklyn, my journalist hat is going to come on tonight. And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a minute because, to be honest with you, the best way I can state this, something is not right. But I'll get to that in just a second. Just stand by, please. So let me start with that wild and despicable video showing a teenager fighting, punching, hitting an NYPD cop in the face. A 16-year-old kid confronted after allegedly jumping a turnstile in Manhattan over the weekend. Now, this teenager has been previously arrested for possession of a loaded gun and robbery, and he was released the very next day. The teen, who cops did not publicly identify because of his age, apparently jumped the turnstile at the 125th Street station, Lexington Avenue in East Harlem. That is a difficult station for police. I've been there many times. There are drug addicts nodding back and forth, people jumping the turnstile repeatedly. And so police there have a very, very tough job. And a 16-year-old girl was apparently with this young man, and she ducked under the turnstile. And apparently the boy became verbally aggressive for over 3 minutes. Think about this now, 16 years old, and he's verbally aggressive for over 3 minutes with police officers before they attempt to arrest him. In the video, you see the boy, I'm sure many of you have seen it by now, you see the boy wildly punching the officer, swinging from Alabama towards this officer's face, and the officer returned the blows. The teenage girl, what does she do? She enters the fray and tries to hit the police officer, and a female officer grabs her, and then the girl starts sparring with the female officer. You cannot make this stuff up. And by the way, for all of this talk of police brutality, notice neither of the officers, at least on video, neither of them pulled their gun. The way this young man was swinging, this officer basically engaged in hand-to-hand combat with this 16-year-old who was swinging from Alabama with Mike Tyson blows, and the officer did not once pull his gun. So that's one. And I see your phone calls coming in. We're about to go to them. 800-848-WABC, 800-848-9222. The second story. If I were the chief of staff to Mayor Adams, I would beg the mayor to back up on this one. I'm referring to the flashy Brooklyn Bishop defending his lifestyle after the alleged, notice what I said, $1 million jewelry heist at the church. He says he's entitled to wear those items. He's worked hard for it. So he's known for flaunting, and his name, by the way, is Bishop Lamar Whitehead, flaunting Gucci suits, diamond-encrusted chains, and a stable of luxury vehicles. And it says it's not his fault that he was targeted for this $1 million heist. Now, he's cozy with Mayor Adams, and here's where my role as a journalist comes in. The media is going crazy with this. Oh, a pastor robbed on a live stream in the middle of his service. Not so fast. Not so fast. Let's see what the NYPD comes up with. Why do I say that? Because, and people change, but he previously did 5 years in prison for identity fraud and grand larceny. Almost like the two crimes made in heaven for something like this, right? He did 5 years for identity fraud and grand larceny. He says it's not about me being flashy. One of his vehicles, a Rolls Royce, and by the way, the 5 years he did in prison was for a $2 million identity theft scam. Now, me as a journalist, if I'm raising these questions, you don't think the great detectives of the NYPD, whether or not he's a friend of the mayor or not, what I'm trying to say, folks, maybe he's a victim, but this is a perfect crime of convenience. Perfect. And stated plainly, there's something rotten in Denmark as it relates to this. I'm not buying it. So first, bling bling. First, the minister, we're told, had $400,000 on in jewelry between him and his wife. Now it's $1 million. You folks don't question, maybe it's the journalist in me, that this robbery happened in the middle of a live stream. You don't think that's rather convenient for when the insurance company starts asking questions? Now, remember what happened in Chicago with Jussie Smollett. Police made an arrest, and the brothers started singing like canaries. In terms of, and I'm not making any allegation, I'm just telling you, as a journalist, something is not right with this situation. So 2 things I noticed from looking at the video over and over and over. One, the bishop immediately drops to the ground as the men walk in. But if you look, and they have guns, but if you look, there's a man behind the bishop in the left-hand corner. He does not flinch once. He does not get down. He does not turn his head. He just stands there as men are walking around with guns. He just go back and look at the video and look at the man standing behind the bishop. And number 2, for that matter, notice how fast the bishop goes down to the ground. Maybe it's a natural reaction. Maybe. And again, this is the journalist speaking. If you're robbed at gunpoint, in which it appears that was the case by 3 individuals, are you really going to chase behind them when they leave? But notice what happens when the bishop chases behind them. When he goes, after they leave the church and he goes behind him, what do we clearly see? We clearly see his upper body, where around his neck you could tell that something was ripped. His shirt appears, his clergy item appears to be ripped. So in other words, the bling bling that was on his neck on video, it's clear that it's now gone. So maybe this is all on the up and up. Maybe I've been doing journalism too long. Something's not right. If I were the chief of staff Mr. Mayor, you have got to back up on this one. Until we get a full, clean systems go from the NYPD, this guy is shaky. He did 5 years in prison for these exact type of crimes.